And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Ever. He's Mark Messina. It's an early afternoon, late midday show. Is that how we do it?
Yeah.
EAL.
Yeah.
Early afternoon.
It's like a late
midday
lunch
show. It's the EAL Midday Show.
There we go.
Early afternoon, late midday
That's
show.
us.
Thank you guys for coming back with us again this week. Today we're going to touch on a story out of Williamsport about some children's remains that were found. It was our two most trending stories on NorthcentralPa.com. You can go there to read the full stories while we're talking about it today or afterwards. You're going to want to look up police find child remains buried on Hepburn Township property, continue search for second child. And then we also broke the news yesterday, second set of remains found on property north of Williamsport. We're going to dive into that as well as talk about the stampede that happened at a concert in Houston as well. Might dive into some NCAA stuff, maybe talk about David Portnoy and Barstool. We'll see how far into the show we get today. Awesome. But before we get to all of that, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, as you see, me being a Cowboy fan, as you can see.
Yeah.
There was a full moon. All the good teams, the Bills played like crap. The Cowboys played like crap. The Rams played like crap. The Bengals played like crap.
You owe me a thank you because I did not harass you.
You know what's really funny? I was working yesterday, and I had to meet a client. I wanted to meet the client earlier because I knew the Cowboys were playing at 1.
Yes.
But they're like, well, I got stuff. How's 1 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really say, like when you're in real estate, it's people say you don't work 24/7, but you kind of have to be available to whenever because people have their lives. So they're like, how about Sunday at 1? And I'm like, okay, we'll make it work. And I'm thinking, we're playing Denver. They suck. Dak's back. So I'll miss the first half. When I got home, I was like, whoa. And it was bad. So because I was an adult and I handled my adult responsibilities, I was only exposed to 2 quarters of it as opposed to 4.
We'll circle back to it at the end of the show because there are some things I want to touch on about. Let's get to this story. I just want to read the first paragraph, then we can dive into it as well. Police have confirmed they recovered the remains of a small child from a property on Livermore Road after a woman was taken into custody for endangering the welfare of children charges. Am I saying that correctly?
I think so.
The human remains were sent to a pathologist for further analysis, according to Old Lycoming Township Police Chief Chris Kreiner. State Police, Old Lycoming Township Police, and agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, are continuing the search on the property for the possible remains of a second child, which then we found out later on, we broke the news that they actually did find the remains of that child as well.
Yes. So what this story, the kids were missing. Wait, I guess here's the background as best I can give it. And let me, the title of the article or the quote was "A travesty of colossal proportions."
Yes.
And is that the wrong one? No. So the kids went. So no one had seen these kids. Can
I help you out?
Well, I have her up. Okay,
go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So the father, they were with the biological mother. One of these 2 people in custody are the biological mother.
Yes.
And then she had a live-in girlfriend. And when you say the term girlfriend, I don't know if they mean it's a sexual relationship or just a girl that's a friend. Be that as it may, it doesn't really matter. The whereabouts of the girls, they think they were, one died in 2016, and they think the other one died in 2017. I don't know how they could tell that, but they had not been enrolled in school since 2015. The child's father, there were no medical or court records of them since 2015. And the child's father told investigators he had not seen the children since 2015 when a custody order and a protection of abuse order was put in place. Now, we don't know if the protection of abuse order, if this guy, his name is listed as Joshua Snyder, if he was abusing the children or the mother of the children or both. We don't know that. But just the question that comes to this is how do these kids fall through the cracks when they were in the court system? Like so many of us, once we're born,
sure,
and there's a record of us, and there's our little footprint that goes on our. then we're not in the court system again until whenever. And even lots of children of divorce, my ex and I don't have an official custody agreement. A lot of people that split don't have a court-ordered custody agreement. We just worked it out.
Right. So
I don't know. Are there too many cases that it's over, that they only check on ones that they feel like there's a problem? Since there was a protection of abuse order, do they only follow up on the protection of abuse orders if there's a violation of it? Or if all is calm, do they let it alone? Where are the other relatives of these kids? Because there has to be other people that are like, where did these kids go? Those are the questions that really come in. And the other question that are, because we don't know these answers. Like this
Right.
isn't, our news director pointed out to us, how is the communication between counties? Because it's a statewide agency, but it's county-run agency. But you can pack up and move your kid. We can move to another
Sure.
county. So how do they keep this? So this, I don't know. And maybe there's so many, maybe it's impossible to, these are the biological mother. This is the biological mother.
Because I do not want to speculate around a story like this. You brought up the idea of one of the things that first confused me when I read this. A lot of times when you see these stories, there was fleeing, parents packed up and left. The most unique part of this story that stood out to me was neither of the parents packed up and left. It seems to be just a string of lies that the kids were there, the kids
Right.
were here, they were out of town. And that there's a uniqueness to that part of the story that maybe the system wasn't built for that. Maybe the system isn't designed for that. Maybe there is a inherent flaw in how this stuff is done. But most of the time with these issues, it's because people packed up and skipped town. And that's not what happened in this case.
No. And it says children and youth began investigating Snyder, the mom Snyder, on September 10th of 2021. After medical provider raised concerns about neglect to her 7-year-old son. So that's how it all happened. His 2 sisters are now dead, as we know. He was still alive, but that's when it started, when a medical provider raised concerns. And then they started looking, and then they started asking, and where are the sisters? They're not here. They're staying with someone else. Where are they? They won't tell them where. They won't. And that's how the ball got rolling. But again, there hadn't been no one had seen or heard of. Then they started casing the neighborhood, and they're like, there's no girls that live there.
Right. The questions that you brought up, it's not really once the ball started rolling. It's the 3, 4, 5 year time gap before the ball started to go. And that's the part of, you just wonder in the system or how this played out. Either somebody was significantly better than the system, or the system has an inherent flaw to it that you could go 4 or 5 years without knowing or noticing.
But and I know that the first thing people are going to do is beat on the system. Sure. And we've heard stories here about children and youth. And, when you're in the news business, we hear stories about every government agency and corruption all over the place. You should look.
It's amazing more conspiracy theories don't apply to work in newsrooms.
Yeah.
You just hear all the gossip.
Yeah.
You hear everything.
But when I hear this, and you go back to the whole it takes a village, there's like, if your parents were crazy and they split up when you were 6 years old, you have aunts and uncles and other friends of the family who would have been like, well, where's Jeff? Where's his sister? Like, the fact that everybody just kind of washed their hands of these kids and were like, well, I don't know. And, I know they're estranged fathers. I know they're deadbeat dads.
Right.
I know all that. The dad hadn't seen him since 2015 and apparently didn't really care.
Right. Aaron says, having worked in child protective services, unfortunately, there are many ways that a child can fall through the cracks due to parental manipulation. One of the first things, and when I was reading through it, I saw they were enrolled in school. A school somewhere had an actual, like, I don't want to call it an imprint, but they had been in school up until 2015. So even very simple things like, and again, I'm not implying the school's at fault, but I'm just saying, like, if you have a student enrolled there, I know there's a process of moving over to the next year
school.
And where, so like, did the parent just forge it and say they had left? Or there's a lot of pieces to this that you just wonder how, like, step by step, it just kind of like perpetuated and made it as deep as it did.
Yeah,
that's the part of this before the ball is rolling. How many steps were kind of sidestepped to the point where for 5 years, just nobody has seen them?
And that's the question. I'm sure there are issues with children. There's issues with every agency, there's government, private, whatever. There's issues everywhere. The whole "it takes a village," the village let these kids down. Somebody around somebody who knew that these kids existed and all of a sudden hadn't seen them. Like, somebody needed to step in.
So if you want to read these stories, NorthcentralPa.com. Police find child remains buried on Hepburn Township property. Continue search for second child. And you can also read second set of remains found on property north of Williamsport. Go to NorthcentralPa.com. You can check those out for more details. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, how about this 7-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, what's he?
It's a very good point.
I mean, it appears that his mom killed his sisters, and dad isn't, like, assuming maybe it's different dad. I don't know, because this kid would be the youngest of I don't know. But
yeah,
it is.
There's, again, without speculating, there's a lot there. We're assuming that at the time he would have been almost an infant. I mean, he would have been too. So you do wonder, I don't want to call it the plan, but as this kid got older, he would have known he had two sisters. Where were they? Why were they never around? Can I see them? It just seemed like a dead end to begin with. You don't hate to use the word impressive, but the fact that it got this long for 5 years. Like the schooling,
that they didn't relocate, that they didn't relocate and move to Tennessee. Yeah, I agree.
Is very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. So Aaron says, I just want to touch base on children are not required to actually be enrolled in a school system until age 8. If they were initially enrolled and then mom said, no, we don't wish to have them enrolled at this time, they can be pulled out. Ideally, school system would have follow-up, but doesn't always happen. Yeah. So according to this, they were enrolled in school beforehand. So it's just that idea of, like, the like you brought up the village. It's just the idea, like, the more things you do, the more you enroll in, the more people just kind of know you're in the aura, right? Like, you're just kind of around. And so even just the fact that at some point they'd enrolled in the school system and then just were not there the next year, the next month, or whenever it was, I don't know. At some point somebody obviously lied, but it should have been more complicated than what it was, I guess.
And unfortunately, as you're thinking this through, like, you think about the school system, obviously parents are a mess. So dealing with these parents probably was no bowl of cherries. So when they take the kid out of school and they're going to another school, I'm sure the school is relieved. I'm like, thank God we don't have to talk to them anymore. Thank God we don't have to deal with these people. Not, oh, by the way, we should follow up with this. Because that's the human nature aspect of it.
Right.
Like, if you're working with a pain in the butt and the pain in the butt comes in and says, I quit, everyone's happy. It's not like, oh, well, where do we go from there? So it was, it's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate.
No, there's no way to sugarcoat the story. It's sad and it's unfortunate. So again, NorthcentralPa.com if you'd like to read the stories on it. And if there's anything else as we follow up, you can find it there.
Yeah, this is not the way you want to make national news, but this is going to get all over the place.
And unfortunately, we don't have a happier story that we're going to lead into. I had asked you if you had seen the concert stampedes this weekend. I thought it was worth talking about because we've all been at events. We've all been at, larger shows, larger concerts, all those things. And then for like a 1.5 year gap, there was this period of time where it kind of went off the radar for most people's schedule, and now it's back, and this is one of the first things that we have happen. At a Travis Scott concert, I believe it's called the Astro World. It's in Houston. Large venue, large concert.
50,000 people.
There's videos circulating of it. I don't want to describe the whole thing as pandemonium, because I also saw videos and I saw people's social media feeds where it was a normal concert in other sections of the crowd, right? Like there were people on the other end of the crowd, I believe on the right side, what would have been the east side of the crowd, where like you would not have known you were not at a normal concert.
Okay.
On the other side of it, what happened, the surge pushed forward. Unfortunately, people started trampling over others. They said at one point, you could literally see the crowd of people where if your hands were up, you couldn't put them down. And if your hands were down, you couldn't put them up. Like that's how sardined in they were. And unfortunately, 8 people died. They're saying over dozens of injuries, people that had to be hospitalized because of it. It goes a little bit deeper than that. Where I want to tell you the story about the girl who got out and was actually trying to get their attention. But I've never been close to a scenario like this. Have you?
No. And this just shows, like, I don't mean to make light of any of this, because this just shows how stupid people are. And as we fight, and I know we're both against the mandates, but as we're like, let people make their own decisions, this is why government makes some of our decisions for us, because people as a whole can be incredibly stupid. And to just how many people in this, in the moment, are so intelligent that they just think rushing right over people and a stampede of bodies is good because there's some rapper on stage and I want to get closer to the stage. Like if you can't equate the danger in that, then you are that stupid. And we're full of.
Can I touch on that?
Sure.
Because 50% of me agrees with you. Like everything.
The other 50% should agree too.
The other 50% of me, I believe that there were people that were probably trying to get to that front of the stage who had very little ill intent doing so.
Listen,
and so
I don't disagree with that.
Yes,
but there's a lot of bad. But you can't just run over people because I want to get to the stage.
But I mean, this is part of. Do you remember what happened in the soccer stadium? What was it, like 80s, 90s?
Soccer stadiums are nuts.
Do you remember that in Europe? It happened, and I mean, I think almost 100 people died. I can't remember the exact number and where it was. But I think the point I'm making is a lot of times I think when this stuff is happening, the people that are causing it don't realize they're causing it, because it's not in the surge that's creating it. It's the people too far away that are trying to move up and they don't realize what's happening. Like if you see the overhead of this crowd, you can tell that the people that are actually like trying to move it up, I mean, they're 30, 40 people away. They have no idea there's people on the ground up there when it's initially happening.
And I get that,
and so,
but they don't have an idea that the stage isn't moving.
Oh, I get
so
that.
As they're jamming forward, where do they think the people are going?
They don't, and that's the point I'm making is I think there's a disconnect. Like I think
the
they don't realize.
You say disconnect, I say stupidity.
That's fine because because I would argue that the people who got up there were in the same boat. They were just sooner. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean what happened wasn't a tragedy. It is, but like I think the majority of times when I see this stuff happening, I never walk away thinking like there was ill intent. Like nobody walked into Astroworld thinking someone's going to die tonight. And I'm going to be the reason why, because I'm getting to the front of that stage.
No.
That's
I
nobody's.
Get it. And when what's his name, Ruggs or whatever, drives his car at 170 miles an hour, he's not doing it with ill intent. But then when he kills someone, he's like, oh, that was a bad idea. I know there was no ill intent, but he's still an idiot. And we can't be like, well, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. But when you're putting people in dangerous situations,
the analogy that you gave is an individual doing something separate from the crowd. And the difference here is like this was really the crowd. Like this was not a couple of individuals.
But it's all individuals making decisions in the crowd. There were hundreds of people who decided, I'm going that way, come hell or high water. I don't care who's in front of me. Mm-hmm. And you've been with these meatheads that just put their shoulder down and push through.
Sure. Oh yeah. Listen,
you know what those people are?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
They're stupid.
Okay. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everybody at a concert is 100% an angel. Like, there are jerks when you go to concerts.
Oh, no, and there's a difference between being a jerk and...
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, to me, what happened says more about us culturally than what it says about us individually. That's what I would say to you. Because I would argue on that side of the crowd, the majority of the people that were like, there were more people moving forward than there were people standing still or moving back. And so I think that says more about us than it does about like just them, if you get what I'm saying.
That's fair. I don't disagree with that too.
So
it doesn't lessen my point.
It doesn't.
But
there's video going around. There was a girl that was lucky enough and fortunate enough to climb over one of the middle barriers. And she actually went up to a platform with a guy with a camera. And she was basically trying to tell them, like, you need to stop the show. Like, you have the headset on, you're talking to a producer. Like, I know you're talking to somebody that's a higher up. You need to tell them that they need to stop the show. People are dying. And there's video of her climbing this platform, and you can hear everything she's saying. She is screaming for people's lives at this guy with the camera. And I don't know if the guy could not hear him. I don't know if the guy is just trained that, like, some of these people are going to be high. Some of these people are going to be drunk. You just take what they say with a grain of salt and get them off the platform.
Right, do your job.
She then proceeds to get up onto the platform, stands in front of the camera to block the view, to basically say, like, if you're not going to listen to me, then you're not going to do your job. And then as he starts to reach around, she actually turns the camera and tries to point it at where the people were trampled on and dying. And the cameraman basically threatens her that he's going to throw her off the platform if she does not move or leave. And so the discussion now, and by the way, the performance went on. At one point, you can very clearly hear the crowd chanting, "Stop the show, stop the show," and the show goes on. And so the debate now has become legally, what is the responsibility? Should they have known? Should they not have known? I think it just kind of opened up a debate that's worth discussion, because I don't have the answer for it. I don't know if I'm that cameraman, if I'm that performer, if I'm in the crowd. And we talk about this all the time. We all like to think we do the right thing. We'd all like to think we know the answer. I'm sitting here telling you, like, I don't really know. I don't know who's at fault. I don't know how much of the blame is on the rapper. I don't know how much of the blame is on the cameraman. I don't know how much of the blame is on the crowd. Like, I don't know necessarily how to divvy out the blame for this situation.
I can tell you, I have been to 3 different shows. I was at a Guns N' Roses concert at Hershey back in probably like 1990, where they stopped and told the people to back up because people have died at our shows. I was at a Twisted Sister concert in a club where Dee Snider stopped right in the middle of a song.
Okay.
And I was at another Guns N' Roses show, but it was the opening act.
Were there mosh pits?
It was, probably.
Because I have heard that, like, they will literally stop the show if, like, it looks as if something is wrong.
Sebastian Bach was
Have you never been in that environment?
I've never been in a mosh pit.
Okay.
But I was behind it in all this because I want to hear the songs. I don't want to die.
Sure.
And and Sebastian Bach stopped in the middle of a song too. And he's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's
How many people do you think were at those shows?
The one was at Hershey, was on the football field at Hershey. So lots.
Okay.
That was Guns back in the high. It was probably 91 back in their heyday. The other Guns show was indoors at the hockey arena in Wilkes-Barre.
So you feel
$5,000
enough that you feel comfortable enough comparing it to 50,000 at.
I mean, no, but yes.
Okay.
And then the other one with Twisted Sister, it was just the lead singer. There's probably 400.
Okay.
So it's different. But the aspect in the Sebastian Bach, they started chanting. I don't know what the guy did. Throw him out. Throw him out. And the security walked through and all the crowd was like, it's this bozo. And they took him right out. And then they started the song again from the top. Yeah. So, it is. I don't even know. There's so many ways to go about it. And as you said, a reflection on society. It's I don't know. I'm almost surprised it doesn't happen more.
I don't disagree with you on that one. Some of the video is very. I was trying to explain this to you, and I just couldn't find the right wording. I did a poor job, and I'll give.
I will not go back and watch the video. I think I would be too disturbed.
I described you. The video is just very eerie, because, and listen, any time there's video of people losing their lives undeservingly, it is brutal to watch. There's a dissonance with these videos because the people that are yelling and the people that are screaming, it's so clear something is wrong. And then the people who are not listening, there's such a gap.
Right.
Like it's so the people that don't know what's happening, they either are clueless or they just do not care at all. And so as you're watching it, that gap of like human understanding, like the lack of connection between the group that is trying to survive and fight for their life versus the group that just has no recollection of what is happening.
And that could really help.
It is eerie. And you have people, like there is music playing and like medical carts are coming up and grabbing these people and they're like doing compressions on the cart as like people are singing and the music is playing. And it's that the disconnect is just like, again, I'm struggling to find the words.
Has he made a statement?
Tough. He came out, I know he did. He was on his Instagram story, I believe. He made a statement. But this stuff, here's the other crazy part too, and not to like drag him in. Drake was there. Drake came out on the stage and performed. It's just a very, I don't know who, I just don't know who.
What did he make a statement as to, is he denying hearing them chant "Stop the Show"?
I don't think he's denying hearing them chant the show. Basically what I took from the statement is like your basic, and I'm not saying he cares or cares.
I saw he's refunding money.
Yes, things like that. But it's different. The other part of it that I told you too, that's very, very unique is these kids are all between 15 and 30.
The oldest one I heard was 27. It was like 16, 18, 21.
Yeah, but 27. I mean the crowd as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because it's Travis Scott in hip hop. And so, like I said to you, if this happened at like a Toby Keith concert, how many people have their cell phone out? How many videos are there? Everything else. At a Travis Scott concert, every kid's got the phone and every kid's recording so there's videos around the internet where you can see kids are literally holding their phone up in the air. They can't put their hands down. They fall to the ground and the phone's just looking up and you just see people falling on top of it and people are just screaming. And so even when you add in just like the millennial phone effect to this, it's brutal to watch because it's not like they're panning over with these cameras and you're seeing it. The video that you can find, you are in it. Like you feel the compression and you feel what it was like to be in that moment.
Which is
a hard watch. It is tough.
You also wonder what is the sobriety level of this 50,000 people.
You just don't know.
What are they on? Is it?
I mean, I can't.
How many of them are on? How many? Is it just drunk? Is it drugs? Is it? Because out of the 50,000 people I
can't say anything because I was at a Zac Brown Band concert 2 months ago, and like I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of sober people there.
No, there are not.
So like,
I'm not being.
You know what I mean?
That's not a condemning.
I don't think you're being facetious at all.
I'm just saying, like, this is the environment. It's different than if you're at a 50 at World Series Game 6. Yeah, there are people in the World Series who are really drunk, but most of them are there because they want to be at the World Series. There's a lot of people there that wouldn't have remembered much of the show anyway.
I will say this, and this is also kind of like I don't think you and I disagree on this, but we certainly have like a different initial take on it. I think part of the reason is the name Travis Scott. I think to most people like around your age, maybe a little younger, a little older, Travis Scott is nobody.
I didn't even know who he was.
To somebody my age or below, Travis Scott is massive. And so for some of these kids, like you can see him like before when they were walking through, like he's got this huge blow up of his face and you walk through it and people going up to like the vendors and stuff, like they're hopping the fence like Olympic hurdles. They're like, for some of these kids, like Travis Scott is it. Like he is the guy, and it's in Houston, and he is from Houston, and he is Houston's dude. So that is maybe an aspect to this story.
That's only because Harden left.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that might be an aspect to this story where maybe where maybe like the behavior or the surge, I don't want to like, I'm not excusing it. I'm just not surprised that people wanted to get to that front of the stage as badly as they did when I know what Travis Scott means to Houston and means to those fans. Whereas for someone like you, it's like, are you idiots? Like, why? Like, do you not see the people in front of you? Like, it's like, I think that might be where some of the difference is. No?
I get it, but like, it's like if you're in traffic.
Yeah.
You're like, I really want to go.
The car's in front of you.
Well,
Where are you
can't
going to go?
just smash into everyone. It's not. They're not going to disappear. And maybe I've always been old. At a concert, I don't want to be at the front.
No.
I want to be at the back.
I personally, so when we go to Hershey, we almost always get the standing room in the back. I mean, we very rarely get actual seats.
And I've been at concerts when you're old enough and people are standing there and you've kind of like worked your way up and I've been really close to the stage, like ridiculously close to the stage. People will go and you kind of know who's around you, and someone will go and all of a sudden they'll come back with like a beer for them and a beer for the person they're with. Right. And you just let them get back to their spot. Yeah. It's not like they're gone and like, oh, move your feet, lose your seat. Like it's very almost orderly.
Yeah.
So
the part where I think where I agree with you, there is, when you show up to certain concerts or certain venues, specifically venues, there is this idea of like, you can see there's a force and you better straighten up if you want to get into the venue, and you better act accordingly. And like, you don't stumble, don't trip, if you get my drift. When you see a lot of the Travis Scott videos, that is not always the case. They almost there's a viral aspect of like, look at these people fighting to get in, like it's Travis Scott. And so that is the one aspect of this where I think I lean your way, but I don't know. For some of these people, Travis Scott is, I don't want to say he's God, but like people, especially in Houston, Travis Scott is huge.
No, I get it. And believe me, I've gone to concerts with people who passed out and stayed in the parking lot and missed the show.
Yeah.
I've talked to people who went to concerts that are like, I remember the first song and then I don't remember anything after.
Right.
So I'm not condemning this group individually. Like that's the nature of the beast.
Right.
So be that as it may.
Kurt said, I've been sardined at a Metallica concert. It's a scary situation. I've just never been in that situation.
I know a buddy at the Guns N' Roses concert because when we went, we were in college. And we had seats at Hershey Football Stadium, and we had seats in the bleachers. And our one buddy ran onto the field, and that's the one where Guns N' Roses stopped the show and told people to back up, and he was in it.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got your arms in and your elbows out, and he's like, you just kind of held it. But I can imagine.
Gina said, and this we kind of touched on this a little bit, even before the concert, the entrance area was a forewarning. I do agree with Gina. There are some videos there where they could have set a tone very early on during kind of like the entrance process and the vendor process that like some of this stuff isn't flying, and that did not appear to be the case at all. So I agree. One more from Aaron. I was at Woodstock 99, and on the last night when 250,000 people were jammed in and people started lighting fires, I immediately left and watched how it all unfolded on the news. So happy I left. It was scary. I don't know. I'm assuming you know more than I do.
About everything.
But about Woodstock specifically? Like, I've never really heard or watched or been told about Woodstock 99.
I know it was very commercialized.
Okay.
Didn't it pour?
You're asking the wrong person.
I think in 99 it was a mud fest.
Okay.
I think I think it ended up being a really bad scene.
Okay.
You know what? You just get that much constant alcohol, drug abuse, then there's sexual abuse. I think it just invites danger.
Okay.
And I think it was not, people remember the original Woodstock. It grew, and I understand what it was, but it was the era and it was the time, and then they tried to recreate it, and I just don't think it came off. I'm sure the music was good. I'm sure every great band wanted to play there because it was like Woodstock, and you got to play the follow-up to Woodstock. but I think a lot of it was a mess.
All the things
Not Fire Festival mess.
No, all the things I've read and watched, that is one of them that I've just never stumbled. I fall down these YouTube holes, and I've never fallen into the Woodstock 99 one yet. I'm sure at some point I will, but people always bring it up to me, and I just know very little about it. So
yeah, I don't think it was great.
Anything else we wanted to touch on today? I know we were a little bit late. Thank you guys for waiting. Thanks for staying with us. I do want to say, because we talked about the Lycoming College basketball game.
Oh, yes.
I went and watched. They played the number 2 team in the country, a Jewish school from New York. They were every bit as good as advertised. I do want to shout out our local college, Lycoming. The fans were great. At one point, Lycoming was down like 25, 30, 35. And like when Lycoming scored, you would have thought they were about to win the game. So shout out to the team, shout out to the program. And the culture in that gym, because a lot of Division III school. I mean, how many Division III schools, when that score was what it was, they would have filed out and called it a night. So shout out.
Cowboy fans filed out.
Cowboy fans can file out. Are you worried
about?
What do you think? The Broncos outplayed you in every.
Now this is what I said to my son. And so you wouldn't be able to relate to this. You would. It'd be interesting to get your take on it, because you guys just won a state championship last year. You lost one game, and it was by like 2 at the buzzer. But even really good teams, oftentimes, you never want to get your ass kicked. Right. But sometimes really, and not just losing, but sometimes really getting your ass kicked is necessary.
Sure.
And I don't know what happened yesterday. I said the Rams were terrible, the Bills were terrible, the Bengals were terrible. There were a lot of good teams that were really, really bad. Not just lost, but were really bad. Yeah. So, it happens.
Before Garrison gets upset with me, I thought, I've already told you before, if you don't force turnovers, I think you're very good. I don't think you're great if you don't force turnovers. And you did that for the first 5 weeks of the season. You guys were ridiculous. Diggs looks like he's going to be fine. He's great. He's going to be fine. Didn't you feel like he hit the wall a little bit?
He has 7 interceptions. He can't intercept a pass every game.
I agree. But didn't you, he looked a step, and again, younger guys, it's hard, you hit the wall. Didn't it look like he hit a wall? He just looked.
I think one of the things, and again, I didn't see the first half, but I know Dak was 6 for his first 17. I have a text. Did I send you my text that I had?
Probably not.
I have a friend.
I left you alone. I was like, I'm not even touching.
I have a friend who's a client who's a Broncos fan.
Okay.
So at 12, whatever, I'm texting him and I'm talking trash, and I followed it up with, oh, by the way, and I have a screenshot of it. I will send it to you. Okay. It was 12:20 or something like that. I said, I don't expect us to play well today. I think Dak is going to be rusty. I think we're going to be flat. And it will be, I actually used the phrase, it will be a less than scintillating performance. Now, little did I know it was way less than scintillating.
Sure.
But I kind of saw it coming. But it's one of those things, just like in basketball, when things are going well, you don't really change anything because it's well. And then all of a sudden you run into a team that obviously they figured something out that defensively caused us problems because Dak couldn't complete a pass, and they just ran it down our throats. So now you go back to the drawing board, and you're like, okay, what did they do? What have we done? We've got predictable. But when you've won 6 in a row, if you make drastic changes and then you lose, then you're an idiot.
I actually thought you guys were lucky the score was what it was. I thought Micah Parsons kept that game reasonable. If Micah Parsons was taken off of that field, that could have been like a 35-40 point.
If you'd have told me we were 6-2, 8 games into the season, I'll take it. Okay. And but no, it's a little.
That's fine.
Every now and then, it's good to be humbled a little bit, and you go back, you kind of reassess. I'm not quite as good as I thought I was, and let's go from here.
Okay. Let's save. NCAA made a big statement today. Let's save it for tomorrow.
That's cool. I will say this, and I won't. Depending on Aaron Rodgers made a great statement the other day. I shared it with us on our group. Did you read the statement?
Nothing Aaron Rodgers says right now is great. But
you didn't. Did you see the statement?
I saw the statement. You're talking about the right-left statement.
Yes. The right is going to champion me. The left is going to cancel me, and I don't care about either of them because politics are a sham. that is a great
Listen,
statement.
It's a cute statement.
It's not cute.
Listen, it's a cute statement if he were a reliable source right now. I'd like anything Aaron Rodgers says right now, I'm good. Like, I'm out. Like, whatever. He's moody and he's curmudgeon-y.
I don't disagree with any of that.
And so, like, listen, I'm not even saying condemn him. I'm not even saying I hate him, but just like, I don't care what Aaron Rodgers says.
But just because he's moody and curmudgeon, he doesn't mean he couldn't make a great statement.
Do it every day. So I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, that's me, curmudgeon. But here's my point, and this is what's funny about the whole thing if you go into the whole thing. Oh, and then I got a football stat, which you will love. The part of the whole fallout with the Green Bay Packers is he has been the Green Bay Packers for the last decade plus. Okay. And then they draft a quarterback in the first round.
Okay.
The quarterback that they drafted in the first round got to play last night because Rodgers is out. And that quarterback just made Aaron so much money because they realize how night and day the world is when Aaron's there and when he's not.
Yeah.
And you have backup. Sometimes the backup comes in and he kicks ass. It's like when Romo got hurt and Dak came in. And all of a sudden they're like, well, this Dak kid's pretty good. Maybe we should.
Sure.
After yesterday, they're not saying, oh, this Love kid's pretty good. They're saying, oh, my God, we need Aaron tomorrow. So that's kind of funny. Here's a little set. You always make fun when I pull up these baseball numbers that you're like, oh, baseball people love you.
So glad baseball is over.
Listen to this stat. Yesterday, for the Cleveland Browns did something that hadn't happened since 1967.
Okay, so there's one, 1967.
That's a long time. That's 54 years ago. It's a long time.
Yep.
They had a touchdown run of 60 or more yards. They had a touchdown reception of 60 or more yards.
Okay.
And they had an interception return for a touchdown of 60 or more yards.
Okay.
All in one game.
Okay.
First time in 54 years. That's kind of neat.
That was 9 things.
What?
That was 9 things.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was. That was 9 things
54
to get to a
years,
really cool record.
Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Really long, really long, really long.
Yeah, you just did 7 and you tried to minimize
Whatever.
it. So
I
we're
did.
At 7.
Well, they go together. There's one group.
I'm just.
That's neat. How are you not fascinated by that?
These longevity stats with like 7 anchors to make it happen. Like I'm out on them. I don't understand. It's the first time a Joe's caught a pop fly in left field in Wrigley Field since 1970 when hot dogs were more than $1. It's like I don't care.
And that
I don't care.
That would be ridiculous. But that's a neat. Do you know how many football games they've had since 1967?
Yes. The right amount in order for that stat to now be a thing. That's how many. I'm just out. I want my records. I need my records to be like 1 or 2 things. I like just like the most points scored in a game all time. Boom, done. Record. Cool. Like neat. I don't need these like long like 5 things to get to the record.
But it's not about a record. It just shows you like how unique Cleveland's performance was yesterday.
Okay.
Like it was that unique. We haven't seen it in half a century. And there have been a billion football games.
But don't you feel like you could find that for every game, every team, if you really looked for it? If you give me like 5 caveats and you let me like go through the things, I can find something for every team, every game the other day. I can't.
No, you can't.
Yes,
Not like
can.
that. Not like
this
that.
Is it. That's it.
You are wrong.
All right, before we go, this is why there's no backup for Mark when he is out. If that guy is a dud, Jeff will have to pay Mark more to co-host.
Amen.
That's exactly why.
Yes. When he started out, I didn't know if he was going to insult me or compliment me, so I had to ride through the whole sentence.
This is why. And then I want to talk about Dave Portnoy and Barstool at some point, because his battle with Business Insider right now, and you and I like to we've touched on cancel culture and all that stuff. Take a chance, read about it.
And we love cancel culture. We think it's delightful.
Oh yeah, it's great. He is going toe to toe with it right now, and I think he is crushing it. I think he's winning. So I do want to talk about that as well. So those are definitely 2 things we'll touch on tomorrow. Anything else before we go?
Steelers tonight, Monday Night Football. It is always special. I have not been because of last year. It was watching the Steelers in a local bar on Monday night. And I'm not a Steeler fan. I'm an NFC guy. It is fun.
Yeah.
It is always fun. If you have not gone out for Monday Night Football,
Tonight's
Go
night.
out for the first half. Go somewhere where it's a kind of going to be a sports bar-ish crowd, and you will have just the energy in the room, even if you don't care.
Right.
The energy in the room will make it fun because people will either be cheering at the television very loudly or yelling at the television very loudly. And you will see Tomlin and Roethlisberger will either should be knighted or crucified, and it will change from like drive to drive.
I believe it.
It's fun.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
That's it. That's all we got.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.